So hopefully you know that English Learner Services are provided to students and reported in part through the course section record. So let's examine how the course record helps indicate the services provided to students. English Learner Services key elements. So if you look at the wheel on the right, English Learner Services are derived from the course record, the Education Service Code, the student course section enrollment record. The student has to attend and be enrolled in a course providing those services. That student has to be an EL student that's reported in the CELA record. And then the language instructional program, the LIP, comes from the student program record. So there's 4 different elements that are required to have a student reported as receiving services. So let's recap. First, your student has to have an EL record. That EL record comes from the CELA file, and it has to be effective as of Census Day, right? And so any student that has been indicated through the CELA record as an EL student with a date prior to Census Day is going to be counted as an EL student. And you have counted these students in your Fall 1 data. Then that student has to be in a course providing services. The Education Service Code has to be populated with a code of 1 through 4 or 6. 5 indicates that the course is not providing services, so code 5 is not a valid education service code, right? 1 through 4 or 6. And then the student has to be enrolled. And so you show that students enrolled in that course through the student course section enrollment record. Also, part of their service are their language instruction program. And that can be a program record that was submitted part of your Fall 1 programs. As you were building out your student's profile, part of the process is reporting any programs the students in. And so that data should already be in CalPETS. And so the course record, the CRSE, provides the Education Service Code. In addition, if the Education Service Code is 1, the language of instruction, the student's primary language, has to be reported in that course. And so you can have up to 2 data elements coming from the course file that relate to English Learner Services. So your education service codes are here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So code 1 is primary language of instruction and designated integrated English language development. What's key here is that the course section is providing primary language. That's why if you report code 1 in the education service code field, you have to tell us what the language of instruction is, because you're telling us it's not English, it's the student's primary language of instruction. Code 2 is designated ELD instruction only. Code 3 is integrated ELD instruction only. Code 4 is any combination of both designated and integrated ELD instruction, but not primary language of instruction, right? And then code 5 are for courses that have EL students in them, but are not providing English Learner Services. So you might have a music course where you have EL students in it, and that teacher is not providing English language services. The curriculum of the music course is not designed to provide EL services, and therefore code 5 could be appropriate in that instance. Perhaps you have a PE class. You might have a credentialed staff member, credentialed teacher who has the authorizations to provide EL services, but the curriculum is not designed for it. You can use code 5. Or perhaps you have a teacher who does not have the authorizations and therefore cannot provide the services even if the course was intended. Code 5 would be applicable there. And then you have other services. And so let's look at CalPads where that would be populated. We're looking at a course record. You can see several different elements populated. And we're going to go down to the course section information. And remember, the teacher has the authorizations to provide the services. And so we like to say that while the Education Service Code, the services provided to the student are based on the teacher's credentials and authorizations, it is to represent actual services provided to the student. And so we don't want to just blanketly indicate every course is providing English language services when they're not specifically designed to provide those services. Or, in years past, some districts, every teacher they hired was authorized to provide integrated ELD instruction. So every course would be indicated 3. And you just don't want to do that. That's just irresponsible and inaccurate. Your curriculum staff should indicate what services are being provided for every single course. And of course, if you populate Education Service Code 1, the language of instruction is conditionally required. And it can never be English because we assume that all the courses are being taught in English. And so you can see that we get an error, invalid language of instruction code. Could be any language other than English or sign language. And that's because this is American Sign Language. And there you go. So those are invalid codes, and they're strictly not required. You'll notice that there's no asterisk here. So if you don't have an EL student, you do not have to populate this field. However, every course that has at least one EL student enrolled, you have to indicate the services. And it might be no English learner services, but it has to be indicated. And so just to show you how the validation works, I'm going to go ahead and validate again to prove that I am being honest. I have not told a lie. And there you go. So it's quite straightforward how English learner services are populated in CalPAD.